Fantasy Baseball 2024, Fantasy Baseball Analytics. I'm going to be dropping the matrix here today, the matrix for Fantasy Baseball 2024. I will be dispelling all sorts of ADP mythology here today through the analytics. I've tried to make this video probably four other times, so I don't know. Hopefully this one's going to really be the one. But every time I meet back in, I've gotten a little further and further out. But I really think it's important for me to start at the beginning, in the beginning of the process. Who are the best players in fantasy baseball? Where would you look? Where would you go immediately in making your draft sheet? So every season we get the Excel spreadsheet out there, and we've got to go through a list of metrics. And I think right off the bat, I remain on the cutting edge with exit velocity on barrels only. And so we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to start off on exit velocity on barrels only. Let me just set a couple more posts on the roadmap on the way there, some guideposts. I went into pitching very, very early. I've got to be better at pitching, and pitching takes a little more depth. There's more components to it. So we got to make a tour through aces. We got to make a tour through the ace archetype before we even go back over to hitting, where we've already been very successful. And every time I've been really grinding my gears on the top 30, 40 hitters, and we'll get back through it. But just to start off, exit velocity on barrels only continues to be, I believe, a little bit better predictor than max exit velocity, than general average exit velocity, because if you isolate the barrel. And so what I'm going to do here, let's get it started right away. We got to see, I'm just going to be fitting this in here. We're just going to get it up here to start right away. I've got a lot of screens open. And basically going to your baseball savant, going to your leaderboards, and what I realize is everybody has access to the same stats. Everybody's got the same list. So when we go to really, are we going to draft that much differently? Can we really find an edge? And so I think going through some of the sorts, I can kind of show you where the edge is if we're going to look at it a little bit differently. And one of our old principles, because we're trying to draft for next year's ADP. Not this year's ADP. What's it going to look like later? And so one of the early principles is first impressions. Getting your very first impressions of the league, it's important. So obviously, if I had a naked sheet, I mean, and we're going to get down. I'll show you the guys here in a little bit. But let's just walk through where you would start. Everyone's going to start here, and these are important guys. There's Ronald, Shohei, Jordan, everybody else. There's a new number on here that I want to point out, that we're getting a little closer to exit velocity and barrels only. And they wrote new. For a batter, exit velocity 50 is an average of the hardest 50% of the batted balls. So we're going to disregard the low half. And this is important. This is a good statistical play. I don't really care about the trash. How bad the trash was doesn't affect the upside quality. So this is new. This is this year. I don't think people are really using this yet. But let's take a look. It continues to work pretty well. You'll notice from average EV, 93s, 94s, 92s, things like that. Well, the top half is, 104, 103. You got to look at the distribution. A lot of guys hitting 130, but there's all the hard hitters. Julio Rodriguez, Vlad, Trout, Yandy, Juan. So this is an awesome stat that's got to be incorporated. And we can also look at the values here, because what I'm going to propose to you here is, while you're seeing on the top 50, 103, 104, 105, my cutoff on the barrel number is even a little sweeter. We're 105.5. I like 106 as your average exit velocity on barrel to be a little bit more splash. So barrels are going to be an even more select, more pure hit than the 150. So that's a new metric. So we're getting closer. What I'm hearing a lot in the industry, Eno on rates and barrels, he loves max. He likes to see who could flex a big one. Eli De La Cruz, because we got to have a conversation about noise here. And if we're talking about noisiness, and helium in the first round, then just keep your eye on some of the first impressions. Like, here's Eli and Max. Ronald, Eli, Shohei, Matt. Okay. Jake Berger, Jordan. Yes. Okay. So yeah, you're seeing some truth here. Ketel, if people want to poo-poo on Ketel's power, well, Ketel's got decent Max. Riley Springer, a couple of the old guys still got Max. So another Nolan Jones, 115 Max. Ezekiel Duran, 115. So looking at what Max is, but here, this is the stat, and I often describe this, but I figured I've got to just go on here, hold everyone's hands, show them exactly where this is. Batter, quality of contact. This is one of the easiest ones to do. The sort by is here, but I've been going to change included stats. This is a little bit cleaner. Get your exit velocity, get your hit distance, and search that. So there's a couple layers here. So I'm having to drill down because I get a little bored. I can look at total bases and slugs and ISOs and everyone's looking at that OPS, OBP, but I'm finding some new numbers here, and this is just your barrels. This is just your barrels, and you really have to take some time here and see where some of these guys laid out, because this is where I'm getting into some first round mythology. So Matt Olson at 73. But I don't want to spoil it. I've got to stay in order. I can't go right to the sheet. We've got to go back. I have to pump my brakes a little bit. Let me just tease this. When I switch to sort by just the exit velocity, this is really what I want to show you. This is exit velocity on barrels only. And here we have Giancarlo Stanton at 110, Eli De La Cruz 110, and Matt Wallner at 110. This is noisy, noisy, loud. And so there's Eli again popping his head out amongst the total studs, Shohei, Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna, really, really crushing balls. And this is where you saw some early Eli De La Cruz going 22nd on ADP. And let's get this ADP out here, because I'm preparing for TGFBI. And so a little housekeeping, we've got to do it a little differently. TGFBI is February 26th. So it's like about a week or 2 weeks away. So I'm getting ready. I'm doing SNIG, all the salary cap stuff, all that crushing. We're going to have to wait, because I'm trying to get through, a good 15 teamer here with deep rosters. And so I'm trying to go deeper. But here I have some access to ADP. All positions, all teams, it's everybody in here. Let me just say, look at Matt Olson down here at 15. That's bad. That's a mistake. Because I like Matt Olson. I start to like Matt Olson around 5 or 6, because of so much power. And with Ronald there, we're going to get to the counting numbers. But let's just go back. So I'm trying to look at best players here. Turks, I got the other layer up here. All right, so we got this back here. Matt Wallner, Shohei, Aaron Judge, Ronald. So this is sorting well. Pete, Vlad, put them on your list. Really, really hard barrels. We know Vlad, and now here's the difference. Here's the distance. This is a result of the launch angle. Pete is playing at 397. I started to look at these guys a little bit more like, how are they hitting their woods? How are they hitting their one wood? And Pete's playing longer. Vlad's playing stingingly, but not a pure home run approach. And you can see how they're doing with batting average. So you start to see the distance. Who's really playing long? Schwarber is playing long. Matt Olson is playing long. Jake Berger hit a lot of barrels, but he's playing a little bit short because he's playing flatter. These guys are on your list. We discovered and been riding Schwarber and Olson for so long. Sean Murphy at catcher. When you're trying to find a difference maker at catcher, it's Sean Murphy for me. I'm not going to forget these. And here's Nolan Jones, 107.3, playing 395. So while this ADP, I'm just going to point out some of these guys that are jumping out here. Nolan Jones at fourth or fifth round, and you're getting nervous. Here he is at about 51. I want to make a place for Nolan Jones. It's hard in Snake, maybe because there is some more power value late, and I think there are some risks there, and it's going to be very easy for me to load up on Nolan in a salary cap setting. But I'm not going to forget Jordan. but it just lets you know the air that a couple of these guys live in particular, Eli maybe being at top of the mountain at some point if the contact happens. So I am all in on these guys. I'm wondering how early can I take Eli? I'm getting ready to jump Eli in the first round just to get my process started, just to get into some of this upside. It's going to sit here. Eloy can do it. Mike Trout can do it. Marcell is doing a 66 of them. So that's one thing you have to look at. And we'll come back there because we're just at the beginning. We're trying to ask ourselves, where are the best players in baseball? I mean, I can't only go by that because that's not the big picture. That's just exit velocity on their barrels. We've got to see, we got to zoom out. Just say, all right, just look at that. Make sure I'm on track here. Yeah, we're fine. I got so many windows open. Everything's just going to be slow. We're just going to deal with it. Just sorted by WAR, and here we have it. Ronald Acuna ends up with 41 home runs, 149 runs, 106 RBI, 73 bags on 337. It's not the five toolsiest, noisiest, loudest season we've ever seen. You've got to be concerned because Gray was off. Ronald went for value. I couldn't believe it. It was like I'm getting Ronald cheap again because he tore his ACL and he came back quickly. And here's Ronald just, I mean, he just plays the game at another level. I mean, war wise, here's run god Mookie Betts goes for 39 bombs, working out at Driveline 307. I didn't realize it was 39 bombs again, 126 runs, a little bit of bags, just ridiculous. Freddie, so you'll start seeing these guys here, and so they're going on your list, especially these huge run numbers. You have to know that they're out there. Getting ready for this rotisserie format, when you're passing on these guys in the first round, these are systems guys. Atlanta and the Dodgers are systems guys into runs because the lineup is stacked. Same thing here with Texas, Simeon and Seager. These guys are kind of drafting on each other. Arizona goes to rides a Corbin Carroll season, 116 runs, 54 bags. So I think you have to respect these as much as Freddie. So I have a Freddie Freeman line. I don't like Freddie. 29 home runs is not great. The runs are great. 102 is solid for RBI, 331 average. Man, he is rock solid in there. But you're a very average skew team because you're going to be behind for power. You're going to be behind in bases because there's Olson's out there and Shohei, or there's Ronald, and so there's Corbin, and I don't know if your average gets swallowed because I'm not chasing. I'm done chasing average. If there's a renaissance going to happen here, I'm back chasing that power, the power up because I think that's where the edge is. And so as I'm back listening to everybody again, Raz, and Barrows, and Sleeper, Flags, RotoWire, just everybody. And it's sort of the same thing. They listen to each other and they don't get outside of the numbers a little bit. All right, so this is what first thing I noticed when I first look at this back in fantasy football season was look at these bases. I mean, look at these bases, old baseball and new baseball. And you're hearing murmurs of it, but they don't want, here's the issue for everybody. All the projection systems are broken. They're the most broken they've ever been. This approach that we have, we are going to win championships. And there's ripe years and there's not ripe years. This is one of the most ripe years for dunking championships that I've ever seen because the projection systems are so bad. They need data. They need 2-3 year averages. Well, there's new baseball because of the pitch clock and what's possible from a steals perspective. The steals perspective is impacting the run perspective because guys are getting on, they're advancing, and they're getting home. And we're seeing this more offensive baseball that has never occurred before, where the paths have never been this green. And now finally I heard I think there's going to be more running. Oh, now there's more running? Because I think we last year were saying there's going to be a ton of speed. there's gonna be there's gonna be outrageous speed again. So I go here, I go, wait a second. That was single season. Let's look at the year before last. Old baseball. That's it for bases. 34, 32, 30. That's Ronald 29. That's all he could get. Because they were checking, check, keep holding these guys back. Can barely just situationally getting great. 20, 18 guys, 20 guys, Nico Horner, nothing. Can't get bases. That's old baseball. The pitch clock, here's new baseball. 73, 50, 49, 47, 43, 38, 37. Guys terrorizing the bases. So you have to readjust how much you need. I had this speed. I had Corbin Carroll, Bobby Witt team. So I had 20 bags a week. I was scoring teens bags to single digit bags en route to a Yahoo Winners League championship. Went back to back with my boy. We're looking to three-peat this season because we were drafting pure speed, sprint speed. And I don't, somebody said sprint speed doesn't always correlate to bags. And, I don't know. It's just sticking out in my mind, dispelling some of this mythology. Just Ronald, Corbin, Bobby, Abrams, Horner, Julio. It doesn't. It doesn't. I think that it does. Leaderboards, baseball savant, sprint speed, right? First impressions. Who who's going to be able to take advantage of new baseball and the new rules? Bobby Witt, Trey Turner, Corbin Carroll. It does correlate. Draft real speed, draft pure speed. But look at that. Like De La Cruz has Bobby Witt speed. So here we are again. Bobby Witt doesn't have Eli De La Cruz average exit velocity on barrels. That's the difference. There's a stratosphere for Eli De La Cruz that's just not going to make any sense to anyone. Corbin Carroll, 30. Jake McCarthy, Jose Siri, who's a little bit flashed a little something. I'm a little interested. Esterio Ruiz, Julio Rodriguez, 29-6. Jaron Duran, Mikey Trout still with burners, but choosing not to run. Pena. So yes, draft real speed. Here's Tatis, 29. So here's some more mythology. Here's Tatis Jr., 29.3. How noisy is that? I don't, it's seventh? I don't know. This seventh, I believe, is a mistake from the projection systems that are going back and grabbing old Tatis, juice Tatis, and pushing it out that he's just all these bombs and all these home runs. And I do think that he is somewhere elite, that he can go to another tier, but there's no way compared to Aaron Judge or Shohei or Matt Olson or Jordan or Austin Riley or Bryce Harper are all better, probably power options than Fernando Tatis. And on the speed side, he better be trying a lot because he doesn't have that natural, don't just hand him Bobby Witt and Corbin Carroll bases because he's down almost a tick from there. Who's down here really stand? Andres Gimenez struggled to give you those bases last season at these speeds. Logan Tavares, Miles Straw, where can't get up. So Ezekiel Duran, a little bit of speed, Geloff, Matt McLean, 29-0. I mean, that's not the same as these upside guys. So the difference is with these guys up here, having to deal with them in new baseball runs. So fast forwarding here, you would go through the runs, you would go through the ribbies, you'd sort them, you just see who's really killing it. Runs, ribbies, put them all on your sheet. The two really tricky, uncomfortable guys for me a little bit is Simeon and Corey Seager, because they're putting up so much activity, but they're not exciting, and there's injury risk, and then I hear Seager's got a hernia, So whatever, those guys are out there. But let's flip. Let's check the pitching side. We're in 2023. Leaders. Let's go to pitching. So I can get into this a little bit smoother because I want to see both ends. And I did say I've got to my staff was not good in TGFBI. So I've got to be cleaner here, more elite, more sure. I get into advanced. K minus BB percentage. And I've got to ask myself, where did all the pitching go? So Spencer Strider, okay, 29.2. There's an eight. Who's next? 23.2, 20, a couple guys at 2019s. So this is very suppressed. Let me go to old baseball. And I noticed ERAs and everything. Excuse me 1 second, getting blasted around. So we go down here. See, this is last season. This is the season before 26, 26, 25, 24, 24, 23. All these guys, at least mid 20s. Can I go back again? Can I go back to 2021? 30, 28, 27, 25, 24, 23. So new baseball, you have to shift your expectation of even what a pitcher is, even where you're going to get your Ks. Because all these guys don't exist. Corbin Burns, Scherzer, Cole, Robbie Ray breaking out, Nola having the season of his life, Woodruff showing he's an ace, Zach Wheeler finally fixing his stuff a little bit better, Gaussman on the splitter, and you go right down the list. But that's done. That's all gone. And I don't think we're really explaining it yet when we're not in on the smaller piece. Look at you ate the belly of the pitching is gone. Gaussman, Pablo Lopez, and I'm supposed to trust Zach Eflin all of a sudden. The off-engine Freddie, the only one who survived was Zach Wheeler, held his old K to BB. Garrett Cole's the number 2 pitcher off the board. Are you sure? Jesus Luzardo? What? That's let's go back to ADP for a second. Where's Jesus Luzardo? Man, is that what you guys really think of him? Where is he? Please tell me. 87th, the 36th picture is Jesus Luzardo. He looks like the sixth, so this is like outrageous. There's these outrageous mistakes. How can he be that low? I mean, he's only one of the few guys that can handle. He's better than Zach Gallen. He's better than Luis Castillo, George Kirby. So you guys just, man, Miami, is it a Miami thing? Walk rate. So that you've got that. K to BB percentage. What I think is happening, let's do an explanation, is the clock is ticking down. Hitters are guessing at spots. So one of the things that goes away is as the pitchers are running out of time, the hitters are loading. They're getting to be more prepared. Here this pitch comes. Before the pitchers were making them stand there forever. They could quick pitch, they could slow pitch, they could just stand there, and it was going. That's all the time calling. So now that we've sped that up, I think the tables have flipped. They, at least last year, flipped back to the hitters getting the jump. And I think pitchers are going to have to learn to neutralize timing better to their favor because they're not getting the Ks the way they were, and they're not neutralizing things on the bases. So it's a much more run-friendly environment again. New baseball, old baseball. So the projections are totally done. You could just retire them. Projections being broken, I mean, let me see where I would go for that. Basically, you have your baseball, so you have your projections, steamer, depth charts, the bat, all these things relating to health. And one of the things I'm listening to is projections start to change plate appearances, opportunity, but then the analysts are guessing health. Why don't you guess the injury? He's going to be out for 6 weeks with a groin, or it's going to be his elbow's going to flare back. I mean, why don't we guess the injury too if we're guessing the injury? And then the thing that's being complained about, why are the projections always wrong? Because, well, small sample extrapolated into plate appearances doesn't equal the stats. No, I mean, none of that's really happening. Is that we're not even modeling the sport better. I'm taking a brand new look at it. a brand new, fresh look. And so, of any time the projections being the absolute worst they've ever been is right now. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even really, I don't use them. So totally disregard that. But where you're gonna go is gonna be this discussion on roster resource. So let's just go roster resource and let's go to the Dodgers. And you tour roster resource over and over and over and kind of piece your guys together to make sure you have everybody accounted for. Because roster resource, at least, I mean, I am borrowing, I'm listening to other people, I'm looking. You want to go out and hear the information's out there. You got to know how to grab it. And one of the places is obviously roster resource. Everyone's there. So Gray from Roswell, he's here. He's in here going, well, I don't think roster resource. They don't know where these guys are gonna hit. I mean, they don't know. Is Teoscar gonna mash and hit fourth? Is he gonna no? And I mean, some people are saying, I don't know, people are fading James Outman. I see enough exit velo for James Outman to play every day. But then, oh, he might get platooned. So nobody knows. So we start complaining about roster resource. What I see here is a Shohei Ohtani with guys in front of him everywhere looking to put up legendary size stats. And I know bouncing him around is a little bit of a problem, but Shohei's bat is going to play monstrously. He's going to totally feast in this lineup. The other thing that you would see, ooh, kicked me out. I didn't like all my movement in there. Let's see. See if I can refresh. Another thing you're going to see on here is the pitching and how the staffs line up. So get through your roster resource. You know, here you're going to pay attention right off the bat. Roster resource has Yoshinobu Yamamoto straight up as a #1 ace. This is a free agent signing, a 25-year-old coming over from a Japan league. They have him projected 188 innings for 194 strikeouts for a 3.8 ERA. I mean, that as a #1 pitcher, that's in a conservative sense, 9K per nine, which we love, sub-4 ERA, one for a Dodgers team with this kind of run po right here. I mean, that you're obviously paying attention here and having to go research the stuff. So he's somewhere on my list. Somebody who I don't have a lot of data points on. Tyler Glasnow, Bobby Miller, James Paxton. Start, seeing these names. With Bobby Miller, 139, 144, 388. Tyler Glasnow, they have 183 on 147. Huge K number, so 352. So maybe the innings aren't there for health concerns. You can't project them for that many innings, but filthy case from Glasnow, who I am very, very high on. So what happens from here is I probably collect all these, every pitcher, especially anyone who I haven't heard of, like who suddenly has a 9K per nine, like Emmett Sheehan. If you 122 over 109, you can go on my list. I'm gonna at least take a look at you. And what I did here, starting early with pitching, we're just gonna shift here, and there's a lot to digest. We're just gonna fast forward by my hitters right there that I'm squeezing up, and this is kind of where the pitching is for me. And here's a little look, you guys, and I'll just say their names. Tariq Skubal, Spencer Strider, Corbin Burns, an honorary designation, Pablo Lopez, Yuri Perez, Jesus Luzardo, Tyler Glasnow, Luis Castillo, and Garrett Cole. I believe those are the true aces that I can see from what we're calling the ace archetype. Let's go to the man himself. Let's see if we got him up here. Spencer Strider. And that's where we're having to flip back and forth. But I do want to get these aces up here. I want to show you how to look at them. We're at the stuff level. So as this comes up, but let me go back to another search. So this is where a whole other thing. This is where I'm looking at my pitching. Back into our search. Get your pitchers out. 2023. Actually, let's just refresh because I like to make sure that these things are clear here. We got our pitchers, and it's a little bit something different we're going to look for. On a pitch result, I want swinging strike. 2023 season is fine. Pitches is fine. That'll just show me swinging strike. This is where it starts to get a little interesting. And this is starting to work. Okay, so it's just swinging strike alone. Spencer Strider inducing, because I like the count as opposed, if you want the percentage, here's sort of a whiff rate of sorts. You can obviously see 13s, 12s, very high, 11s. This is going to pan down. You're whiffing guys less. But even guys who have maybe low opportunities, you might see here, Hunter Green, he popped a 13. So, don't only look at count, look at the rate, but also I'm looking at count because I want guys that can do it. So Spencer Strider, Castillo, Zach Wheeler, Pablo Lopez, I mean, here they are. Here they are. Swing and miss is going to be good pitching. K to BB percentage, you're getting some K. You're getting some swing and miss. You're keeping your walks down. Where I'm going a little bit extra here is in this attack zone. And here's a really good picture that I described to you guys a lot, but using the split screen, I can show you this. The heart is these 9 spots tight in here in the middle of the plate. Then the shadow is this next outside zone. And this is the tension. This is what keeps coming up. This is where the next little edge is to be able to dissect some things, to see the game a little clearer. Hitters want to hit balls in the heart. Pitchers don't want to be in the heart. Pitchers want to be in the shadow. Because what you'll see here on these strikes, to kind of confirm to you guys what I'm saying, is I'll select the heart. Who had the most swinging strikes in the heart? Here they are. Spencer Strider, Zach Wheeler. These are guys who can come over the plate, over the meaty part, and induce some whiffs. And you'll get some nasty stuff. And it's hard to say because you don't really want to be here. If you're unlucky here, these are going to get turned around. But it is an indicator of stuff. The place where I want you to be, and I want you to have more of it, is going to be in the shadow. And people might say this is too granular, but there's nothing else to look at. I've looked at everything else. I need the best pitcher. So this is where I have to look. Who's getting it in the shadow now? Now here you start to see who's really filthy. Obviously Spencer again, but Castillo, Blake, who's unsigned, Freddie Peralta, who I've said is an ace for quite some time, Pablo Lopez, who's got stuff, Jesus, Gaussman, Lance Lynn did it, Joe Ryan. So Zach Wheeler, oh, really? Like, let's go back to ADP. Let's go back to ADP. 28th, the fifth pitcher? Are you sure? Are you sure he's fit? I mean, Pablo, Tyler, so this stuff is just very, I mean, Zach Wheeler, I guess, but there's other stuff. So, it's just a different take on the filthiest stuff and then coming at it. And so something else that's your K to BB percentage, and I will put all those pitchers. I'll put all those pitchers on there. But eventually I go back and I just look at what they're throwing. Let's make sure I got them here. 6 foot, 25 years old. See the red bars. Giving up some fly ball, some ground ball rate. You're going to get turned around. The stuff that we mentioned before continued this season. Down 1 tick from 98 to 97.2 on the cheddar. A 4-seam fastball inducing 28% whiff rates for a 256 batting average. That's all you're going to get. A couple of those got turned around for 17 home runs. And you can see from where he's working that, yeah, those fastballs, he's coming middle. See me, catch me if you can. Just heaters a little bit up and away. The slider he's keeping down. The changeup, that's good control, not losing a lot. The changeup is down there. So really implementing those 3 pitches, because the batting average on the slider is 154 and the changeup is 122 for a 55% whiff plus and a 44% whiff on the change. Woo-wee, just cannot be touched. The Ace Archetype, which I explained to you guys, is the zone contact, the chase, and the whiff. 80 is the line, the 80-30-30 Ace Archetype that we look for. Zone contact sub 80. Well, here's your 73.3. A chase above 30, 34.3 for Spencer Strider. And Spencer Strider here with a whiff of 38.6. Astronomical. You'll see it in his red numbers. You'll see the extension, him jumping off the mound here. You'll see the spin rate's pretty good on the fastball velo up, whiffs, walks under control, and the barrel rate, of course. So this is where, yeah, you're gonna get turned around. Force coming in, force being directed back out. The barrel rate goes down, but it's not something we don't overreact to the stat. I don't look at what pitcher suppresses all the barrels to find the best pitcher. It's Spencer Strider for a host of reasons. So you really have to look at it holistically to find him. But he's easy, but you got to look at who is the best. Who is the best? Who can touch him? I like to go to a Pablo Lopez because I see a Pablo Lopez that's really dealing here. And as we leave Spencer, saying farewell to just one of the filthiest arsenals in the game, a 28% whiff. Anything over 40, I'm going to call plus or plus plus. These 55s, these are, out in outer space stratosphere. Mid 30s is okay. And on the fastball, sub 22 starts to be a little bit of a problem. So just keeping an eye on that. And here we get over to Pablo Lopez. And I think Pablo Lopez flying a little bit under the radar because his name is not that exciting. But let's just check his 80-30-30 as that loads up here for a second. Maybe I'll get the pitches first. Let's see what I get first. Pablo Lopez, it really is dealing. And here we see a zone contact sub 80 at 78, a chase at 34, and a whiff of 30, his career best. Big extension off the mound. K to B, flawless. Really nice. Here's a guy that is totally dealing. You go, wow, man, Pablo Lopez. Four seamers up, sweepers away, changeups, curveball, sinkers, 5-pitch mix. Throws all of them pretty regularly. Only 11 dingers on the fastball, but here it is. On the four-seam fastball, sitting 94.9. Up a little bit from last season. 31.5% whiff rate on the cheddar for a 268 batting average. He's just sitting there getting behind the fastball, and he's hard to hit there. Of course, he wants to live there. He can just throw mostly that. Then you're having some serious trouble with the sweeper, 36.6 whiff rate. The changeup, the curveball, all inducing swing and miss, all being used. A little bit of stuff for lefties, a little bit for righties. A sinker, I guess if he wants to get some ground balls, I don't know. He could probably scrap at the batting. It doesn't give up home runs, so he can suppress runs when he needs to. So, that's a Pablo Lopez. It's just dealing right now. Total ace. I think the ADP, they've got this wrong. This dude is he's better than Kirby. We could go to Kirby. Garrett lost a little bit. Corbin, let's look at Corbin Burns. Let's see what's happening there. Because he's one I found today. He kind of got in. I think I was a little down in Corbin because I think his stuff is fading a little bit. Maybe it bounces back. You see the big trade to Baltimore. You see him coming up. He's going to get some run support. He's going to be new league for him. Big old Corbin Burns. Because he's a good example of the Ace Archetype. Basically what I saw in Corbin. 29 years old, 6'3". So 29, okay. Using primarily the cutter, the curveball, the change, sprinkling in some slider and some sinker. Pitch tracking comes in. 95 miles an hour last year to the cutter, down just a touch to 94.4. Just 0.6 miles per hour, just a touch. Spin still there. But you see here the whiff rate from 27.8 to 22.7. That made a lot of difference. That whiff rate right there. 47 on the curve, 47 on the change, 49 on the slider. Well, 30 on the change. The change just not as much whiff, just a little bit of shine. The slider from 49 to 43, just a little bit less, but still breaking off huge spin rates. 2,800 and 2,700 are huge spins. So I don't have any problem with the stuff. I think the arm looks healthy. I see cutter use started to evolve when the fastball was losing movement. And you see him basically putting his regular four seamer away. He's going to throw cutter, but cutter eventually sapping velo over time. So I'm just concerned as Corbin can't sit cutter the way he used to, forcing him to use other pitches that guys are actually waiting for that are a little bit hittable. I mean, I go down to his ace archetype and I see 82 zone contact, 30 chase, 28 whiff. So he just leaves the ace status that he held dominantly for 2 seasons. I mean, here he is 76, 35, 36, 79, 30. Ace, big time. But then the scales just tip the other way and push him out of there. See, the extension is not huge. The velo coming down a little bit on the fastball and a little bit of a control issue. If I see him lose control of the walks, kind of a regression there. They didn't have that good control. So at 29, because physically, is he really getting better? I'm not looking for a lot of Corbin Burns. I'm not at at 4. No, 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 no. I'm looking for Pablo Lopez, who's straight up dealing. Let's go to Tyler Glass now. Let's go to Tyler Glass now. Let's go to the guys I love. Let's see my list here. Because I got Corbin. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I threw him up here like, is Corbin just going to be better? That's ADP seeping into my mind. Corbin Burns is down here in a lesser tier, probably in this like kind of Dylan Cease area. Let's go to Tyler Glass now. Gonna come up from here. I've just got too many windows open. Let's see if I can get rid of some of these and give it a break. It's just gonna make it worse. So, do we get him up here? Tyler Glass now. Is there that many Tylers? There we go. So here we go. So we looking at this stuff here. Tyler Glass now gets injured a lot, but like I said, if I'm going in neutral for health, I think predicting health has just turned into a little bit of a fool's errand. Here's Glass now getting off the mound at 99% extension. Spins, fastball, velos, K rate, some walk control, getting hit hard when he comes to the middle. But we're looking for that ace archetype. Here he goes, 78 zone contact, 30 chase, 35% whiff. Not a lot of guys can do this. And Tyler's doing it. Tyler's shown that he operates in this area. Whiff rates have been huge for a long time. Chase, he's gotten guys out there. So depending on what kind of stuff he shows up with, he's going into Dodger Stadium. He's going to get the most run support of his life. He's on the best team of his life. 97.4 down a tick to 96.4, still fast with the 2400 spin for a 24% whiff rate. A little more whiff than Corbin. So when he just sits cheddar, it's faster, it's harder to hit, less dingers. The slider, 38% whiff, and then this other offering, the curveball with a 52% whiff, truly the hammer for a 100 batting average. So he's lights out with the curveball, and he could sit fastball, slider for a while, all of it with tons of spin. This is a big power arm at 6'8", 30 years old. Tyler Glass now the number 2 ace. I mean, I just, as I now analyze, I mean, that's an injury ding. Why? Anyone can do an arm. Strider's gonna go. If there's any arm I'm the most concerned about, it's Spencer's, because he's throwing too hard and he's stretched and pitched too many innings. I mean, Spencer Strider has Verducci written all over him. As much as I'm excited, I think everyone here is an injury. Spencer's not paying for it because it hasn't happened yet in terms of people's dueness. So, and then we get a little, we don't know who to pick. Tariq Scooball. Let me just go to, because where is he? Where is he? Yuri Perez. Did I already pass him? Yuri, come on, Yuri. How deep is he really? Blake Yuri at 84. Ooh, goodness. I mean, Eno said he's high. Guys are saying they're high, but the word is not getting out. It's a Miami thing. The 20-year-old is 6'8". I'm just gonna start with the stuff as the pitch tracking comes in here. You're gonna see a lot of Yuri on the team this season. Four seamer all over the plate, keeping the slider down. The curveball's a little wild. We see some wild misses. He's got to change. He is throwing all four of these pitches, so it's a 4-pitch mix. Throwing 97.5 with the fastball. Gave up 10 homers, 289 batting average, so it's a little straight. The 18% whiff is not good. So he's got a little bit of a fastball problem. You need to see that whiff rate 22. If it ever went to 25, if he got a tail on it, if any improvement in the fastball whiff rate. But the supporting cast of pitches, 47-7, 54-3, 46-2, 0.98, 0.45 batting averages, 0.183 on the slider, 3++ additional offerings, 85% extension, fastball spin rates, K to BB, whiff rates, OBP, some control. The walk is decent. Bona fide ace in Yuri Perez. Getting ready to knock our socks off. Lights out. 77% zone contact, 31 chase, 33% whip. He's already deep in the ace archetype on the 80-30-30. Like in it, not borderline it, fully in it, with the ADP not being there. And so that's what I mean. I don't know. I just have to get through these because I've been cracking the code on pitching before going back and just handing you guys the ace. The reason I don't usually do this ADP, but I'm getting ready for TGFBI and trying to dispel some of this. So Yuri Perez, I don't like to go to guys with not good arsenals or unexciting pitchers, but goodness God, Zach Gallen and George Kirby and Yuri Perez, who I will have to have on all teams, and Luzardo behind him. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I know the run support won't be there and the wins won't be there, but you see the stuff. Here's Luzardo 26. Let the pitch tracking come in. All right, so it's a little different. Luzardo, 96.7 on the cheddar. The batting average suppressed only 230, 233, 248. So the secondary stuff not as amazing, but the batting average on the fastball is very nice. 19%, 51% whiff, 36% whiff. Got a little cutter, got a little sinker. He's mostly fastball, slider, change. We'll see what fourth pitch he brings in. But I must have seen something I like to put him in here. 80, 31, 31. He's been better at the zone before. I see a Luzardo who sort of broke out, able to touch those bars. And you'll see. I mean, if you go to find these other guys who you thought were there, there's certain areas where they don't touch it. Corbin, Dillon, Snell, Scherzer, Peralta, who I all have coming in next. I'll talk about somebody that popped out here was Tariq Skubal. So here, we've got to get cutting edge. And on the search here with the pitchers, one of the things you'll do is changing the game date. So take a different sample. Take March to August. Just so that you don't miss some kind of breakouts here. And slicing up and dissecting your season here to make sure you see some guys who maybe popped here. Dylan Cease here. Grayson Rodriguez flashed. You got to pay attention to this at the end of the season. Grayson Rodriguez has huge stuff. And that's why you see some guys getting excited. But one of the things I looked at on some pitching analytics and how they're advancing pitchers, because up here in count, this didn't really mean a lot, but apparently gaining leverage. So looking at who got strikes on 0-0 and 1-1 counts is another little avenue, a little area for progression because that's key for changing leverage. But here you go. So it would be like, oh, whoa, Grayson, man, you're not, where's that name? He's above Wheeler. He's above Pablo, Snell, Garrett Cole. Grayson he was absolutely dealing in that second part, right? So how high do you want to get on Grayson on some of these first impressions? What was he dealing with? Let the pitch tracking come in. Grayson Rodriguez, 24 years old, 6'5", big boy, four-seamer, change, slider, curveball, and cutter, throwing everything. And here we see him with a four-seam fastball sitting 97.4. But the batting average is bad, 342, a 24% whiff. So getting some whiffs, but also getting hit, getting turned around. Maybe that's first half, second half. The changeup, 28% whiff. The slider, 34% whiff. The curveball, 38% whiff. The spin rates, the curveball's got a good spin. These other spins aren't crazy. You see a 2200 here compared to some of the other guys we were talking about. So he's getting some velo, but without a lot of snap on it. Good extension. K and BB. So we go and look. Zone contact 80.2. Chase 29.7. Whiff 26.3. Just outside of our ace archetype, getting a handle on it. He's there. This could very easily, if one of these pitches starts to really put guys out, just get some whiffs, get guys out the zone a little bit, get hit a little bit less hard if one of these pitches. We don't know which one it is coming through. We like the fastball, 97.4. The changeup is the second offering, and the slider, 30. If he goes more sliders, but he needs the changeup versus lefties, that's what he's doing there. You're looking for the step forward, but the building blocks are there for someone throwing very, very hard, who finished the end of the season very strong. Do I have him right here? Oh, I lost it. It's this one. So finishing it very strong. And so I'll dissect, kind of looking at those zones, looking at this whiff rate. The other place that you'll have to go for pitching to see who pops is back to this K to BB percentage, but there's one more place, and this is just the truth metric, so it's worth pulling it up. Going back to pitching, going to advanced. Actually, it's a little bit buried now. Pitch level data. It's the second tab over here, and then plate discipline. That's where I gotta show this to you guys. Let's get this plate discipline up here. Is this swinging strike right here? Have to be paying attention here because this will accumulate your swinging strike. Strider, Snell, Castillo, Pablo, but you're getting a lot of the same guys. But looking at this on a month-to-month basis, let's just see a second half here. I can maybe, right here, you can kind of easily, you can do your custom ranges where you can just maybe check a second half. I like it month to month and just see who kind of popped. There's Glass now, there's a Regans. There's Pablo. How close is what is Regan's stuff? Regans is very close. I have him in that next spot right here. So we've got let me see here. The next, here we go. Cole Regans right here with Hunter, Woodruff. Really nice arsenal. 6'4", 26 years old. We're sort of in this like velo battle. 96.5 on the Chet, 27.9% whiff for 234 batting average. Whoo-wee. That's one of the best fastballs we've seen as I dig into this the second time. That's where the changeup with a 152, the cutter 270. I don't think you need to throw the cutter. Just throw the curve, throw the slider, get rid of the cutter, and he all of a sudden he breaks out. I don't know why he's throwing it if he could throw the other two. Good spin rates, good exciting 2400s, 2500s. So that's some stuff. I think I just went down here. He's got the zone is down. The chase is only down, but the whiff is there. Looks like an ace. looks the extension is not good. So not getting off the mound very well, getting the K's, really suppressing, getting blasted with a very nice arsenal as a Cole Gans. Oof. You remember like a Zach Greinke, so you never know when a pitcher is going to come onto a team and really break out with his stuff. I don't know where Cole is from an ADP perspective here. Way down here at 100, man. Somebody who has a lot of stuff. I guess you don't think he's going to get the wins, but if Bobby Witt and the team starts to play a little bit better, maybe he can sneak you a couple more wins this season. So just doing this stuff analysis, where did I want to take you guys next? Pushing them up the month by month, swinging strike, barrels in the heart, the shadow, early impressions, sticking with them, building excitement, getting to the players. You're like, all right, so here's the list. And I didn't even have a plan. I'm gonna just talk about the top 10, the top 100. I spent a lot of time up here. It's clearly Ronald. And I put everybody on the sheet, and I care a lot about the top here and striking it. And eventually, I don't want to move these guys. I'm not moving Bobby Witt anymore. There's nothing I'm going to look at. Bobby Witt has the exit velocity noise that the power is real. And so Bobby is 2, and I'm very happy there. Corbin Carroll is here in a little bit of an honorary mention because Carroll does not have the bat to hang with any of these guys. So from an opportunity cost perspective, between Olsen and Judge and Ohtani and Jordan in the first round, you're going to be chasing power with Corbin in ways that you won't be chasing with Ronald and Bobby. But Corbin is entering that run god territory. And so that other category being elite probably pushes him up here. A lot of shade being thrown on the shoulder and being a little soft, a little small, but it's sexy enough. It's hard. If you don't go here, you're not going to get it. So it's kind of forcing my hand, and I like it. I'm excited there. Aaron Judge and Matt Olson, who just sit as the big exit velocity boppers. If you're going to get 50 bombs, Matt Olson, either one of them driving in, Boku runs everywhere. It's in those systems. Before I start to get a little bit, I wouldn't say dicey, but I could go different places, is Mookie. And could Mookie replace those other guys? Yes, for consistency. He maybe doesn't have the boom to boom of either the home runs or the bases, but he has the whole thing, but it's balanced. He's a little older, it's not as exciting, but system wise, he's there. He probably safer than Corp, in reality. And then I think Jordan. So year over year, Jordan's health hasn't been playing right, but he's the best really pure hitter, average wise, power wise, batting and runs. I think Jordan is really the truest bat out there. What happens to me here is this sort of Austin Riley, Bryce Harper. I mean, we're getting removed that I'm very tempted. The Trout price is way down in the 50s, and Bryce is going to first base. You could get Bryce and Trout in ways you couldn't get anymore at the cusp, later than the cusp. I mean, you can get Bryce in 2 and Trout in 4. You're banking on kind of bounce back season, but those guys are like the best ever players. So I think you just have to have the guts to say at 30 and 31, Bryce and Trout are not washed. And I'm going to get over that. I'm going to predict where exactly Mike Trout is going to get injured. I mean, so I do see some of the I do see the challenge in there, but they pop up as at least having the stuff. Kyle Tucker, Fernando Tatis. So I'm oddly down on Julio. Julio doesn't have the pure pop for me, and then didn't take the bases for me to firmly say he's the number 2. I think that people are drafting that he's going to take a step, but I don't see somebody as noisy as even Eli, who I'd rather get. Here's Bryce when he came back. I just, to fade a guy that this is his career. I mean, this is just, how deep in ADP are you just going to ignore Bryce for, I guess, would be. So, there's one thing there because I'm still kind of open. I'm still looking and processing all these guys. There's a lot of movement happening on my sheet, but you get to see a lot of things I pushed up. So, of course, Spencer Torkelson looked like he totally matched the season, like super high in him. He's going 100. Torque looks like the real deal. Mashed as good as anyone last season. Ryan Mountcastle did it last year and had some health problems the year before, but had some health problems last year. So both these guys really get after it. Juan Soto is a weird player. He's in a contract year. And I get it. I think that Juan Soto has been negatively impacted by when he caught COVID a few times early in the beginning of the pandemic that we're in. And Juan Soto is having a struggle. His struggle is weird. It's seeing Juan sort of flatten out. But what is this on Juan Soto? Sweet spot. Sweet spot 5, the worst. Like the worst of sweet spot. So I don't know if he's using a weird place of his bat. It's just something weird to pick out that doesn't really get noticed. So he's amazing. The average and everything, home runs, hits. It's just, he kind of disappeared as a player as he begins to struggle. And I think that's why he keeps getting traded. Because as we see this guy blossoming, here he goes, he just flattens out. And then he goes and hits it harder, but he's flatter. And then he goes to loft it, but he can't loft it because his exit velocity goes down. So he flattens back out and hits it hard. But he has a sweet spot problem where he's using the bat. I mean, he's always been here, but if he has a flaw, it's in his barrel rate. And you see he's sits on everything, but he started to strike out just a little bit. So there's sort of these like weird flaw progressions in contract year Soto, who probably, at 10, if he really plays better and has all this opportunity, he's better than Julio Rodriguez. He really is for just hitting. He's better than Fernando Tatis. So it's just a weird place. It's some weird things. I probably am not getting Soto because he's just something about the profile. It's making me a little bit concerned. But he's up here. You got Robert Julio finally. Gunnar Henderson slightly injured in this season. Eli De La Cruz, O'Neal Cruz from last season. These are the guys that I'm sort of gonna jump. Is this a tier here for me? Because I'm extremely excited here. Well, Chapman and Devers are not up here for me. Mountcastle is probably not there, but this is who, from a power analysis, really has to be here. Another thing that I'm seeing, just dumping it out to you guys, is like Marcell Ozuna and Adolis Garcia, because they're old, and to a lesser Teoscar, they're just getting disrespected for being very, very solid from a power perspective. Nolan Jones pops. Matt Wallner pops. There's one more name here that I'm looking for. Where is he? Matt Wallner. Oh, maybe it just was Wallner, but I thought there was another outfielder that we have to look for. So this is where we're kind of pushing this stuff. Jake Berger, I think, was legit. Casas and Walker. And I'm just really trying to, you're going to do your own analysis, but I'm trying to striate it. This is kind of that next range where who's good late in the outfield. But what starts to not matter here is I can't have all these guys. It doesn't matter that I'm so high in Siri and Kelnick and Brooker and O'Neill and Chisholm and Riley Green. Now, as last outfielders or somebody rounded out, I started to find Wyatt Langford and Jackson Churio, some rookies I want to get called up, some more excitement, because Randy Arozarena doesn't excite me. I like Abrams, Michael Harris, Nolan Jones. Looks like a total breakout, a total stud to me. More Eli's. So I'm looking to go double cruise missiles. Eli early, O'Neal Cruz in the middle. Make some room for these pitchers. And now it's just about who else can I get? Who else can I get my hands on? I'm not ready yet because I don't have relievers rounded out, and I've got to get in here and find the relievers better and eventually integrate these players into more of a system. Or from an ADP perspective, trying to win it each round. And a 15-teamer, I'll just start posing you my problem. A 15-teamer, I only get 7 picks before the top 100. So it doesn't matter that cute of how I'm going to get. I'm only getting a couple slices. The snake is going to make it equitable. So how do I take advantage? I've got to be able to keep roster spots open for some of these guys that I'm going to take. I've got to make sure that when I get a guy, I'm ready to rely on him all season. And if I'm going to win something late in ADP, I've got to have a place for him to play. So this season, I'm making a big swing back into pitching. I want to have some really high-end staffs. You know, Bobby Miller. Should we just look at Big Bobby? Because everyone's getting so excited. Everyone's getting so excited about Bobby Miller. Let's look at some big stuff. Because I just, looking for guys who have an arsenal that's going to come out and just dominate hitters a little bit. Here's Bobby. He's 24 years old, 6'5", four-seamer, sinker, curve. All 6 pitches, Bobby. Bobby sporting 6-pitch mix, throws 5 of them. Sits 99-1 with the Ched. 99. But the batting average is 262. The whiff is only 20%. The whiff isn't good. You getting hit, Bobby? He's up and down. He's in the middle of the plate with it. I don't know. He's throwing the sinker. Just scrap it, Bobby. 253. Is it any better? It's basically the same pitch, less whiffs. The curveball, the slider, the change, all hard stuff. Decent extension, fastball with K to BB, better control than strikeout stuff. Zone contact 79, chase 28, whiff 26. Not inducing enough whiff yet because he doesn't have those out pitches because he's just sitting with fastballs, but he's suppressing batting average. And the off-speed stuff, 19, 16. He's gonna find his way out. Bobby Miller has big boy, big stuff coming this season. Like just outrageous stuff. Let's get back to the pitchers here. But it's a matter of how do I get all these guys on my team? Here's Bobby Miller at 75. Well, I'm going to be over there trying to get O'Neal Cruz at 15, 30 picks later. These guys are going to automatically fall. Do I have to jump? Who am I going to jump to get out in front? Well, did I get Grayson or did I get Bobby? To get both, I have to take someone maybe in 4 or 5. Is that too wild? There's Yuri. They're all in that spot. So it's going to be hard to get all of them. I'm trying to devise a plan for that. And so that's just giving you guys a look. Hopefully I can get this video out to you guys. I can try to refine this. I was able to just show it to you, just show you what the list looks like. Top 10, top 20, top 100. I mean, it's a work in progress, but I'm starting to get deeper because I have to win every level. I have to win 100 to 200. Who am I going to put in the offense? And then try to consider that and coming up with the first round. Can I win late? Because my concern is very late in drafts, where in a head-to-head setting, I can just get cheap Ks. Here in my ERA and whip blowups, I need to keep that down. So I need to try to push staff up uncomfortably high, taking more pitching, trying to avoid injury risk this season. TGFBI has me so pumped. I'm getting it locked in. I'm going to start a league. The boys are already asking about it. So look for those invites to go out. Get on here. Make another video. Check in with you guys for TGFBI. And then we're going to get back to salary cap and start winning some more championships. Big shout out to all the subscribers. See how we did.